our reference search, meaning a word search up above. We discuss how to use our graphical search, meaning we select the graphical window that has the items that we're looking for. The third way that we can search for an item, we go to hit the home button up here in the search section. We can also search by division. So let's say you're looking for drywall items. Drywall is considered a wall finish. So you would go to the division of finishes where you'll find acoustical ceilings, ceramic tile, floor covering, and then you'll find gypsum board systems. Okay, that's considered drywall. So you click on that, and here you have all the different options for drywall. Drywall ceilings, drywall walls, and the list goes on. Okay. It even talks about different assemblies that goes with drywall, like metal studs. You find all those items here. So that's how you use your division search. If you're looking for concrete, of course, you hit concrete. If you're looking for air conditioning system, that's mechanical. Okay. Um, so there's many different ways. If you're looking for insulation, you want to choose thermal and moisture protection. All right. Then you have all your different installations. You have your bat installation, you have your blown in, rigid, you have insulation for roofs, and then you have insulation for exterior. Like that goes behind siding, soffit, and fascia boards. I'm gonna click back here to home to reference search. And then you have another way that you can search for items. You can do a related search. Let's say you're looking for an item that's kind of hard to find, right? Let's say you're looking for a double door or 8-foot door. You select an item that's closest to the item that you're looking for. I'm just going to put in doors, right? So I don't see it when I type in door. I don't see it here, but I go ahead and I select the closest item. Let's say hidden door. So once it drops down in my cart here, what I can do, I can go back and select that line item. Then I go over here to category, which is door. And then I have a selection code. Here it says HD. I can highlight this selection code and then a window opens up. Now I have a plethora of different doors. Okay. Let's say once this box opens up, the selection box opens up, I have plethora of doors. Now I can narrow my search by typing in double door. Now it breaks down all that list, narrows it down to all the double doors that are available. So you just go through the list to figure out which double door you're looking for. French double door, exterior double door, interior double door, um, exterior double door with panel hardware, and the list goes on. Okay. So we've talked about word search, graphical search, search by division, related search, but also in addition to that, we can go here to the quick entry search. All right. Now, the quick entry search comes with experience. So this is not something that you would learn right off the top of your head. We provide you with a whole list of different categories that you can search by. Okay. And if you click on the drop down arrow for categories, it gives you the different categories here. Okay. First one is mobile home. You have ACT for acoustical treatments, APM for appliances, major without install, and you have the entire list of the different categories. Now, in the experience adjuster, if I wanted to say I was looking for painting drywall, I already know my category will be PNT, and then my drywall would be P, painting my drywall. Look what comes up when I type in the letter P. Paint one coat. Let's say I want to type I want to paint it 2 coats. I just add the number 2 to it. And look at what it says, paint 2 coats. And then I hit OK. It's telling me that my calculation is quantity is 0. Do I want to save the line item? I'm going to say yes. All right, so I can always come back in here and just punch in my calculation, say 250 square feet. All right, so let's say I want to do texture drywall. I type in, I'll come in here and I do DRY for drywall. All right, and I already know texture is TX. So look at what it says, texture drywall, light hand texture. And then here in calculations, I could do WC, which is wall and ceiling. What that would do, that would apply this line item to all of my walls, all my ceilings. Or if I just say I want to do it to all the walls, I just put W as a calculation. Or if there's a specific square footage that I want to use, I go ahead and type in whatever the square footage is, 250. And then I'll hit the OK button. And you notice in the quick entry, you have cat code, which I mentioned earlier in the video, category code. You have the selection code. And you also have the action, the attribute. So here in the action code, it asks you, okay, what do you want to do with this line item? Let's click it. Here I have only replace only because it's dealing with a window treatment. But if I was to select something, let's say like the drywall. Okay, let's go to the action selection area. And it asks you, do you just want to replace the drywall? Do you just want to remove the drywall? Do you want to remove and replace the drywall? Or do you just want to take in consideration only the material only, but no labor? Or do you just want to take into consideration only installing the line item, but no material cost? Most of the time, you're going to be doing remove and replace, okay, which is the ampersand. In the next column box below, you have the description. What is involved in that line item? The next column, you have calculation. How much of the area are you trying to do? Trying to replace? C is for the entire ceiling. If you're changing, let's say you're dealing with the wall, then you use the code W. That's for all of the walls. Okay. Let's say there's drywall on the floor. You will use the letter F. That will cover all the floors. Okay. Let's say you're only changing the drywall only on the perimeter of the wall because the water came in, damaged the floor, and it came up the wall only 1 feet. Then you use the code PF. That's called perimeter of the floor. So you're saying to yourself, actually, how am I going to remember all of this? Oh, simple. You click on the calculator and look at what it does for you. It gives you C for ceiling, square feet, F for square feet of the floor, double H, height in feet of wall, double L, length in feet of a long wall, PC, perimeter of the ceiling, PF, perimeter of the floor perimeter, SH, height in feet of the shortest wall, SY, square yards of the floor, V, cubic feet of dimension object. Okay, that's your volume. W, square feet of the walls. WC, if you're dealing with the walls and the ceilings. Okay, so if you're not doing the entire attribute of that room, then you would have to put in your square footage. All right, or your linear footage. You'd have to do it manually. So once you use these formulas up here, what it does is that it recognizes, number one, that you have a drawing or a sketch related to that room. And once you choose one of these formulas, it goes out and it grabs the square footage or the formula related with that room. Okay? Okay? So let's say let's choose the master bedroom. Okay? So I got drywall damage to the walls, drywall damage to the ceiling, damage to the carpet. Since I had baseboard damages, well, let's just say everything's damaged, just everything. So typically, the way that you'd have to write your estimate, you wanna write your estimate in the order of precedence. Like, what is the very first thing that will happen when you go to repair a room? Well, the very first thing you need to do, you want to be able to move around the contents in that room so that you make the damaged areas accessible for you to do the repair. So that should be the first order of business is moving things around in that room. So one line item that you would look for, let's say I go up here and I say content manipulation. Okay. Look what comes up. I got content manipulation charge per hour. I got content manipulation charge per hour after hours, content manipulation paid bill, agreed price, bid item. So in actuality, you can choose any one of these. However, your particular IA firm or your particular carrier, they may prefer you to use one before above the other, but in actuality, you can use either one. Of course, if the room's a small room, you can choose small room, large room, or extra large room. So there's really no right or wrong answer with some of these line items, as opposed to the insurance company preferring you to use one line item above the other. And that's a learning and process and progress. So every deployment is going to be different. Every IA firm is going to be different. Every insurance carrier is going to be different. So don't be surprised when you write your first couple of estimates that you get a lot of them kicked back for corrections. That's okay. Just make note of the different line items that they want you to use and make note of the different corrections that they give you. Just make note of them so that your next claims will be done right. So it's a learn in progress. So you can do your search, and this comes with experience where you know what the category name is, and then you know what the selection code is. The way we help mitigate against your lack of experience is that we provide you with the category codes and the selection codes that'll help you speed up the process of finding your line items. Okay. And finally, the last way you can do a line item search is using macros. Okay. So we use the example of the master bedroom, right? So you'd want to do content manipulation. You want to move things around so that you can have access to the areas that need to be repaired. You may have to mask your walls, protect your floor if you're not changing out the floor, and then you begin the repair process with dealing with your drywall ceilings, insulation in the drywall ceilings. Then you deal with the drywall on the walls, the insulation on the walls. Then you deal with the baseboard, and you work your way down the line. Then you deal with the carpet, and then cleanup will be the last item that you will deal with. So when it's all said and done, you can have 20, 25 line items in just one room. All right. And you have to find each of those line items individually and add them to your cart. All right. There is no easy way about this. You have to be able to account for all the work that is to be done in that room, provide the right line items, and then put them in the order of precedence, in the order that the work is going to be done. So there's no easy way to put it. It is technical. Um, you have to have some understanding of how this goes. You just have to. Okay? There's no easy way about it. However, what we provide you, severe RPM adjusters training, we provide you with the last solution, which is called macros. I want to take the time to explain to you how macros work. So macros is an assembly or a composition of the many different line items that are involved when doing an insurance rebuild or repair to a lost property. So there are a group of line items associated with the different repairs that would take place in that particular lost property. whether it is in a master bedroom, a kitchen, a bathroom, living room, patio, exterior of a home, a shed, a roof, no matter what it is. It's a composition of different line items all brought together within one macro that will help you to be able to, one, know the different actions required to repair a room. Number two, shows you the order that the repair is being done in. Well, of course, it depends on who you get your macros from or who put together the macro, but I'm explaining to you how our macro works here at Severe RPM Adjuster Academy. So our macro not only identify the different line items, but we put them in the order of precedence, in the order that the repairs are to be made if you just follow our macros. Okay? And number three, it shows you every item that has to do with that repair. So I'm going to demonstrate how to use a macro. So I'm going to select master bedroom, and I've already mentioned to you that there's damage all over this bedroom, to the ceiling, to the walls, to the baseboard, and to the floors. Okay. So here, what I have in front of me, I have macros labeled as AP. And these macros are available on our website for purchase for you to be able to use them in your adjusting career. If you have purchased the entire training, all these macros are included and ready for download. So let's deal with the first room here, which is the master bedroom. So I will go into my macro, and you'll notice that I have AP1 tab shingles, 25-year 3-tab shingle roof. So if I was dealing with the roof here, I would come in here and I would double click my shingle roof. Okay. But I'm dealing with the master bedroom, so we're gonna stay with items that are related to how to repair damages in the master bedroom. My first one is going to be general items. Notice I have it labeled here AP1 general item. I'm going to double click that macro and notice the different things that drop down here. I'm going to increase my window below here so you can see it. And I'm also going to get rid of my quick entry. That way you'll be able to see everything in one window, okay? So when I click the general item macro, notice the things that drop down here. Window treatment, okay? And if I click on my F9 note in the corner, it says allowance to detach and reset window treatments. If I double click it, another window opens here. And here in the F9 note section is where you explain the reason why you are giving certain line items that at the first glance doesn't appear to make sense, or maybe warrants explanation as to why are you giving them this credit or this line item for the repair that you're doing in this room. So here I'm explaining to them that I'm giving an allowance so that I can detach and reset the window treatments. What are window treatments? Blinds, curtains, whatever items that you have that covers the window or that blacks out the window. All right. It could be wood shutters, Bahama shutters, plantation shutters, whatever it might be, this line item would cover that. Also, in this macro, contents move out then reset. Remember, we spoke about moving things out the way and getting access to the repair area. Third item here is the heat AC register, mechanically attached. You might need to detach and reset it. So if there's a vent in that room, you may have to unscrew the vent so that you can perform the repair to the drywall to the ceiling. My fourth line item in this macro, mask and cover large light fixture. So you might have a fan, chandelier, that you may have to mask and cover it in order to perform the repair. Okay. The fifth line item, mask and prep for paint. This line item here is about masking walls, especially if it's a textured ceiling, you got to protect the wall so that you don't get texture on it. Now, if you're replacing all the walls, then you don't need this line item. You could just click on the number here and then hit the word delete. All right, you've dealt with that so far. The next line item is mask the floor. protecting the floor. So since in this case, our scenario is that we're replacing all of the floor, we don't need to mask the floor. But if we were not replacing the floor, we have a line item here to protect the floor during construction. Does that make sense? Yeah. The next line item is smoke detector. Detach and reset. All right. If you had a smoke detector in the ceiling, you need to detach and reset so you can go ahead and do your repairs to the ceiling. And look at the last one I have under my AP1 general item, which is recessed light fixture, detach and reset trim only. Okay, that has to do with removing the cover off that recessed lighting so that we can paint and change the drywall, repair the drywall, so on and so forth. So you see, just in this one macro, general items, we're dealing with 6 to 8 different line items, and we're just getting started. Okay, just those couple line items, that's $294 by itself. Do you know how many estimates or how many adjusters do not take into consideration these line items once they're doing a repair in a room? And these are basic line items. However, our macro makes sure that you don't miss these line items. So if there are line items here that you don't need, simply delete them. But we want to make sure that you have all your line items in the proper order. So the next thing we're going to deal with, ceiling damage. We mentioned that the entire ceiling was damaged, right? So I go to my macro number 2. All right. Notice that I labeled it AP2, which is the second area of precedence in doing your repair in that room. You want to start with the ceiling and work your way down. So let's double click my ceiling macro and let's see what line items are involved here. So I drop my ceiling macro and notice what comes up. I even have labels for the different areas of work that we're starting. So we did the general item. So you notice I have the label general. Now we're dealing with the ceiling items. Now notice under my ceiling macro, I have different sections. So my first section of my ceiling macro is almost as if it's asking a question or making a statement. Non-textured ceiling. So if your ceiling doesn't have texture on it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're only going to be dealing with these 5 macros in the ceiling. And what are those line items? The first one is apply plant-based antimicrobial agent to the ceiling. You might be saying, what in the world is that? Good question. So let me bring in that quick entry box back so that I can explain how you can find out what line items are. So why am I using plant-based antimicrobial agent to the ceiling? Let's see what that is. So if I select that line item, notice here in the quick entry box, it comes up. And then on the right side, it says click for detail. You see a picture of a spray bottle. Of course, that's what they're going to have the agent inside of. Let's click for details. Look at what it says here. Includes antimicrobial agent and labor. Note, the surface is treated to kill harmful bacteria and or prevent mildew. This item is for applying a plant-based or equal environmentally safe alternative to chemical-based antimicrobials. The label type used in this item is a hazardous materials remediation technician who typically performs work relating to hazardous materials, which may include asbestos, lead, mold, etc. No life expectancy data. So that's what that microbial agent is that once you remove the drywall, you spray the area so that if there was any bacteria or mold that were going to grow, they are no longer going to grow because you utilize this antimicrobial agent, all right, to kill the bacteria before it even starts. So you already see the importance of some of these line items already, right? Just by going over just two of them. If you were to take a survey of all adjusters and the line items that they use, I guarantee you that more than 50% of adjusters would not have this line item there. And after reading what this line item is for, you would think that everyone would know about it, right? Not. No, everyone doesn't know about it. But as a benefit to you as a severe RPM adjuster academy graduate, you're going to be using it in your line items and making sure you're doing right by that insured. Let's look at another item that's included here in this ceiling batch. 5/8 drywall, hung, tape floated, and ready for paint. Okay. The next thing, seal the ceiling with PVA primer. Not just seal the ceiling, but seal the ceiling with PVA primer. There are other line items that are not PVA primer, one coat, and you say, what's the purpose of PVA primer? Click on the line item, look into your quick entry box, go over to click for details. Okay, look at what it says. It includes sealer primer, painter's putty, sandpaper, and labor. Quality, one coat of PVA primer. All right. And it explains to you what the PVA primer is. So basically, what PVA primer is used for is for brand new drywall. Drywall that has never been painted before, never been coated before. So what does the PVA, what's the importance of the PVA? What it does is that once you apply that paint to the drywall, it seals it so that whatever you put on top of that prime drywall, it'll be able to apply on it evenly and stick to that drywall. Because before you even paint the drywall, drywall is what would I call it? So when you let's say you drop water on the drywall, on paint the drywall, it has the ability to suck the water into the drywall because it's not sealed. But once you apply the primer to it, now it becomes a non-pervious surface or non um, permeating surface. There's a word I'm looking for that I just can't. It's on the tip of my tongue. But it basically, when you apply this primer, it prevents water or anything else from being able to bleed through that drywall. It seals it and makes it a surface that is not susceptible to soaking up water. Okay? That's the whole purpose of that PVA in the paint. And then the next line item that you have to deal with is now that since you've applied the antimicrobial, you now install the drywall, you remove and replace the drywall, you seal the drywall, now you're going to paint the drywall, and you're going to paint it with two coats. Okay? So if the ceiling is not textured, you're only going to be dealing with these 5 line items for a non-textured ceiling. And then you're going to delete the rest. All right, because the rest of them has to do with texture ceiling. All right, this is 6 line items. And then the next one has to do with popcorn ceilings. If you have a popcorn ceiling, you're going to use only these line items on the popcorn and you're going to delete the rest. So in this case, let's say we're going to deal with textured ceiling. So I'm going to select all these items in non-textured. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to select all the items in popcorn ceiling because it's not a popcorn ceiling. And I'm going to delete those. And then you have an line item here. If you just want to paint the ceiling, there's no damage. You're just painting it because it's continuous with another room. Then you would use just the painting. But in this case, we're not doing that. So I'm going to select those two and I'm going to delete it. Okay. So now I have taken into consideration my content manipulation, my general items, and now I have successfully repaired the ceiling in this room. Okay. In addition to doing all these line items, one thing you have to take into consideration or keep in mind is your calculations. Okay. All right. We're going to get back to that. But in dealing with your calculations, they have different formulas that you can use. You can type in, if you knew the number was 386.38, you can type in your calculation. But they have different formulas for your calculation of how much ceiling you're replacing. If you're replacing the entire ceiling, you could just use the letter C. All right. Use the letter C. And what that would do is that it would go into your drawing and find out how much, what the calculation is for the ceiling that you're replacing. Okay. So let's continue on with line items and we'll get back to the calculations. So now in this master bedroom, we dealt with the content manipulation and the general line items. We replaced the ceilings. Okay. Now we want to deal with the walls. So I'm going to go down to now my third macro, AP3 wall damage. I'm going to go ahead and double click that. And it's going to open up a window and say, hey, you know, some of the line items in your wall macro are also utilized in your ceiling macro. Do you want to allow these duplicate items? My first response is going to be yes, because the items that were used in the ceiling, I can also use the same line items on the wall, but they'll be designated as for the wall than it is for the ceiling. So I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to go through a list of the different line items that are duplicates. So I'm just going to continue to hit OK to allow these items to be added to my estimate. I'm going to get rid of this quick entry box here just to give us more room, okay? So let's go here. I'm right clicking in the empty space and I'm going here, second from the bottom, where it says show line item entry pad. I'm going to uncheck it and then that's going to disappear. So let's look at our wall macro. Okay, so here's where it starts with a title block. It says the wall. This tells whoever's reviewing my claim. Now I'm working on the wall section of my estimate. And just like in the ceiling, if my wall is not textured, if my wall is not textured, I would only deal with these line items under my non-textured walls. If my walls are textured, I would only deal with these line items under my textured walls, and I would delete all the other line items. Okay, so I'm going to delete my non-textured. If I have walls with wallpaper, okay, if my damages was to a wall with wallpaper, then I would use these line items in my wallpaper. Okay, let's look at them. Bat insulation, apply plant-based antimicrobial, remember that? Apply the drywall, half-inch drywall. Now you notice that the ceilings are going to always be 5/8 drywall, and your drywall on the walls are always going to be half-inch. Notice how my macro already take that into consideration and is giving you what it is. Okay. Then I'm going to seal the walls with a stain blocker. Notice I'm not using PVA primer, right? But I'm sealing the wall with a stain blocker. Why am I doing that? Because I'm going to apply wallpaper to the wall. I'm not using any paint. So if I'm not changing out a damaged wall that has wallpaper, I don't have to worry about these line items. So I'm going to go ahead and delete them because I'm not using them. Okay. Now I got a line item here for paint only. Let's say we don't have any damage to the walls. We just want to paint it. So I would just use these two line items. But in this case, we have all the walls that are damaged, so I'm not using that. So I'm going to highlight that, highlight the second one, and then I'm going to delete it. Okay. So now I've taken care of my general line items for that room. I repaired the ceiling. I repaired the walls. Now, what other line items do I have to deal with the walls? Let's say here I'm confused. I don't know what else to deal with next. Well, if I go up to my macros, look what my number 4 is, electrical. Do I have electrical items in that room that need to be repaired or replaced? Let's go ahead and double click electrical. Okay, and let's see what line items that are included. Look at this. I got a title block, electrical, and look at this. Do I have light switches that need to be replaced? Do I have outlets that need to be replaced? So if I have damage to the wall and the damage goes above the outlet, that means I need to replace that outlet. Okay? Is there an exhaust fan I need to replace? Are there ceiling fans that I need to replace? The list goes on. If there isn't anything there that you need to replace, you just highlight all of them and then you hit delete if there's nothing there. However, if there was an item there that you need to replace, you delete the other ones that you do not. Okay? So this is the power of these macros. It gives you things to consider when you're repairing that wall. So far, look at how many iron items we have for just for this one room, and we're not even done with the bedroom yet. Okay? My number 5 macro is the doors. Do you have damage to your doors? Let's say you do. Let's go ahead and double click that macro, drop it down, and let's see what's involved in repairing the doors in this room. Look at your options for the different doors and the different actions you have to do. So, interior door unit, is it damaged? Doorknob? How about the lock set? You just need to detach and reset. Let's say there's no damage to the lock. All you need to do is remove it from the old door and install it on a new door. Do you have damage to a bifold door? All right. A double bifold door or a single bifold door. Is there an exterior door that's damaged? Do you have a lock set on the exterior door? Or how about a door opening, but there's no door? You're just dealing with the jamb and the casing. All right. Now you got to paint the door. So we not only replace the door, now we have to paint it. So these are all the things that are involved with doing that repair to that door. We provide you with all the line items so that number one, you don't even have to think about it. Number two, you don't have to go looking for it because these macros allow you to bring all those line items in one fell swoop, and you just go in and you just delete the ones that you don't need. Okay? And then you edit the calculations accordingly. Maybe it's 2 doors. So you go to your calculation and you punch in 2. Maybe it's 3 doors, and so on and so forth. All right. So let's go to the next line item, number 6. Let's say you're dealing with a kitchen. We're not dealing with a kitchen here, so I'm not going to even click that macro because we're in a master bedroom and not a kitchen. Number 7, a bathroom. You have damage to the bathroom. We're not in the bathroom, we're in a master bedroom, so we're not going to even worry about that macro. Number 8, floor covering. Did we say there was damage to the floor? Yes, we did. So let's go ahead and double click floor covering, and let's see what kind of line items that we bring in dealing with our floor covering. So here we are, flooring. So if it's carpet flooring, you go ahead and select the carpet, leave the carpet items that you're using, and delete all the rest. The next line item that has to do with flooring is laminate flooring. Look at that. All right. Is the flooring made of laminate? Then you choose those line items that has to do with the laminate flooring and delete the rest of them. The next flooring here is hardwood flooring. There is a difference between hardwood flooring and laminate flooring. All right, you can see just by the prices, they're different. So you have a whole bunch of line items here that has to do with hardwood flooring. Okay. The next line item is vinyl flooring. Is the floor vinyl? If it's vinyl, you leave these 2 selections and delete all the rest. The next line item here is baseboard. All right. Is there baseboard involved in repairing a room? Yes, there is. So you choose the items that's relative to the baseboard. If it's a 3 1/4 baseboard, great, you have it here. Is it a baseboard that's 6 inches? Then you choose the 6 inches, delete the 3 1/4. Do you have base shoe here that needs to be repaired? All right. So once you replace the baseboard and the base shoe, if base shoe is there, now you got to paint it. Look what I provide for you. If you have to stain it or if you have to paint it. Okay. So you have all your different options that has to do with the flooring and delete all the rest that does not apply. Okay. And then once you're done repairing all the items, you've dealt with the contents, You've dealt with the drywall ceiling. You've dealt with the drywall walls. You dealt with the baseboard. You dealt with the flooring. And now the final thing I have here as number 9, your final cleanup. So let's double click that and let's see what's involved. Every time that you repair drywall in a room, you have to put in a final cleanup. So here you have two different types of final cleanups. You have one for residential and you have one for commercial. Of course, this is a residential building, so we're going to delete the commercial one, select the commercial one, and delete it. So look at all those line items that we dealt here. So we're going to just do the carpet, and I'm going to delete all the other stuff that does not apply, just so I can give you a real world look at just the estimate just for the room. Okay. So we don't have any base shoe because we're dealing with carpet. We're not dealing with 6-inch. And then we're not staining it, we're painting it. So just in this master bedroom, I can't tell how many line items here, but it's a lot of line items, right? It's only dealing with the master bedroom. Let's go over here to the left side. Look at the total cost just to do the repair and master bedroom. $12,606.21. You think that insured is going to be a happy insured to know that you're taking care of all the line items in their room? Well, here I didn't narrow down the doors because we're not doing everything here. So let's go ahead and narrow down the door section. I'm going to get rid of the door knob interior because I'm going to detach and reset. I only have a regular door, no bifolds, no exterior door, so I'm deleting all of that. I don't have door openings without a door, so I'm going to delete that as well. So now I'm painting the door. So it said paint door or window opening, yes, 2 coats. Paint the door slab, yes. All right, now these are 2 different areas that you're painting. One is the opening and the other one's the door slab. So I'm not painting a bifold, so I'm going to get rid of that. All right, so now my estimate is more accurate now. I've gotten rid of all the extra stuff that I'm not normally changing here, okay? Now look at my estimate. $11,312.56. And that's just for the master bedroom. Do you see all these line items? Let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. 26 line items so far. 27, 28, 29. And that's all dealing just with the master bedroom. Now imagine you having to think about all these different line items for this master bedroom. You would have to go find all of these. Number one, you have to think about them individually. Then you have to go out and find each of these line items. Then you would have to go and put them in the order of precedence that the work is going to be done in. Okay? And you have to make sure that you take into account all the line items needed to do this repair, and then you put it in the master bedroom. Let's say you're dealing with the master bedroom, right? And you figured all the items out that you needed for the master bedroom, and you applied it here. Let's say you have the similar type of damage in all the other rooms, right? Where in your mind you're thinking you're going to use all the line items here in those rooms as well. So what you can do, you can select one of these line items, and when you're going to copy all of them, you always want to select the number column. All right, so you have the columns here: number, category, selection, action, notes, description, so on and so forth. You want to select the number section. Okay, you want to select the number section, and then you're going to hold the control key, and hit the letter A. It's going to select all the line items. So what you do, you would right click now, and you'll hit copy. So you go to the next room that you believe you're going to use these line items in, let's say in the dining room. Okay, select the dining room. And you're going to select the number column here. You're going to right click, and then you're going to hit paste. Now you just transcribed all the line items that you used in the master bedroom. Now you're using it in the dining room. All right. Now, let's say all these line items are true and you need to do every single thing that you did in the master bedroom, also in the dining room. Now you just estimated a completely different room in how much time? Just a matter of seconds. Or let's say there are items here that you don't need that you use in the master bedroom, but you don't necessarily need them in the dining room. Okay, just go ahead and delete the items you don't need and then add the ones that you need. Okay, so you can estimate multiple rooms in just seconds. Or let's say there's line items used in the master bedroom that you don't need all of them in the living room, but you see that you've already dropped them in the master bedroom. You can go to the master bedroom and just copy them and drop them in the living room. And you edit the calculation as needed. Okay? So just as simple as that. Just as simple as that. Okay? So you think that's a lot of work? Yes, it is. You think that's a lot of work for a new adjuster? Yes, it is. Do you think that us providing these macros will be able to mitigate against your lack of construction knowledge? Hallelujah. Yes, it will. Okay? So that's how you use macros. So in the last video, I talked about how word search is a fast way, and another student implied faster. I said, no, it's just fast. But using a macro is the fastest way for you to find your line items. Okay, there's fast, faster, and then you have the fastest. So these macros will mitigate against your lack of construction knowledge by bringing together all the line items needed to complete a repair in any situation. In any situation. So let's look at the additional macros I have here. I got macros for appliances. All right. I'm just going to choose an open area here just to show you the different things. Well, let's show you the different things in the kitchen. If I was dealing with the kitchen, double click kitchen, look at the different things you'd have to take into consideration for a kitchen. All right, lower cabinets, upper cabinets, knobs, countertops, sinks, the P traps, backsplash. How about the stove and dishwasher, refrigerator, microwave, oven? All these will have to be detached and reset in the process. Okay, so I'm going to highlight all these by selecting one of these numbers, hit the control, and then the A button, and then delete. Okay, let's drop the bathroom macro in this room. Let's see what's involved in dealing with the bathroom. Countertop, the vanity, countertop again, backsplash, P traps, the toilet paper holder, towel bar, and the mirror. Okay, let's delete those. Let's look at what's involved in appliances. All right, look at that. Central AC, air handler, swimming pool heater, dishwasher, refrigerator, washing machine, a dryer, overhead garage door opener. These are all built into these macros. Let's go to the next macro. Let's look at demo tree and debris removal. All right, the different line items that you can use when you're dealing with tree and debris. Let's look at exterior damage to a house. What what are the different line items for exterior damage? Look at all these line items here. So when you drop the macro, you just delete the ones that you don't need. Window screens, exterior light, exterior door, painting the exterior door, overhead door, painting the overhead door, aluminum window. How about stucco with debris strike damage? How about sandblasting, stucco patch, redash, stucco color coding, seal and paint the stucco, exterior light fixture, house numbers, all right, shutters, fascia, prime and painting the fascia, soffit metals, prime and painting the soffit. All right, let's look at another one here. You have an in-ground pool. What are the different line items you have to look for when you're dealing with a pool? Look at this swimming pool filter up to 40,500 gallons. Okay. Swimming pool and spa is a bid item. Temporary pool covering. Who's ever thought about that? Elastomeric joint caulking of the pool deck. Pool coping, concrete poured. Pool coping, brick. Pool coping, flagstone. And how about swimming pool, plaster and finish, color quartz? The, I mean, dude, and dudettes. These macros is the game changer for any and every adjuster that lacks construction experience. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's go ahead and delete all of these. How about a laminate roof? All right, you drop that in there. Oh my goodness. Look at the different line items that deal with a roof. You delete the ones that do not apply. Okay. How about pack out? The home is such a bad condition that you have to take everything out of the house. All right, let's double click that. Look at the different line items. All right, and that's an on-site pack out. I even have one here for off-site pack out. Okay, and it takes in consideration for a rental of a storage room for a month. Okay, let's look at another macro here. Let's say I already talked about the laminate roof. I have a tile roof. Let's say you're dealing with a roof with a tile on it. All right, and here I put South Florida tile roof. Look at the different line items for a tile roof. All of them brought into one space. So you don't have to worry about, am I missing a line item? Did I think about all the line items involved in doing a tile roof replacement? They're all built into the macros. Okay, and they're labeled for you, and they're in the order of precedence. So that's how you would deal with macros. And that is the last way that you would search for a line item. All right, guys. I hope you guys found that useful, how to search for different line items, and you found how to use macros to mitigate against your lack of construction experience.